Well, hey guys, we're sitting here about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks by the time this will air. We are post 6-arc launch. We just wanted to do something similar, sit down, have a, in-depth discussion with a few of the whizzes here that, worked firsthand on the 6-arc and the majority of any new cartridge development or new product here at Hornady. We can go around the table here. So I'm Judd. I work on the marketing team with videos and photos and kind of more of the creative side of things. So these guys do all the down and dirty work on the product. And we can start with Seth here. Seth, ballistician, just give a little brief on what your day-to-day is.
Sure. Yeah. Work with the ballistics team. We do, like you had mentioned, the research and development of new projects, new products. But we also do all the testing for, not all, but a lot of the testing for current products. For like our critical duty bullets, we do all the expansion testing. There's a lot more to it than most people get to see. But we've got a pretty small team, and we all work in various parts of bullets, ammo. The only thing we really have no hand in is the tools division.
Cool. Well, and then I know you work closely with Jaden. Jaden, you're kind of the whiz of all around here. So.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Sure to disappoint, too. Jaden Quinlan, ballistician, work with Seth, doing a lot of what he talked about. Anything new, research and development, whether it's projectile, ammunition, propellant, all that stuff. Everything that you see come out, luckily we get to have a first-hand touch on it most of the time, so pretty cool. Nice.
And Preston, you're kind of on the battlegrounds. You're up in technical service, so you deal with, a lot of customers day-to-day, questions, hopefully 6-arc stuff. So.
I'm the assistant manager of tech up there, so I'm handling phone calls, emails the majority of the time. I do watch the Facebook a little bit and try to answer as many technical questions as I can. With a page as big as Hornady's is, it's always hard to keep up with all of them, but I try my best. And we've been getting a lot of questions about the ARC, and that's kind of why we're here. So.
Exactly right. Right where I was going to take that. Yeah, so the launch was extremely successful, from our perspective, I guess. It sounds like there's a lot of buzz out there, and that's kind of the main goal as far as the marketing side. Let's just get the buzz generating, and then let the conversation start. So like Preston said, there's a lot of comments, a lot of different messages and things, and we just kind of wanted to sit here today and pick out some of the main things that just kind of kept coming up. But maybe just for starters, hey, we're a week, 2 weeks post-launch. What is your guys' perspective? How things go? What are you hearing?
I think it's been generally really well received initially, for sure. I think the performance of the cartridge will carry its popularity higher and higher past just that initial buzz phase. But I think initially we did a pretty good job of having other manufacturers of guns and parts and stuff on board, ready to go. It's unfortunate we had to delay the launch, but I think that maybe added a little bit of mystique to it, because there was some rumblings underground up on the interwebs, on the forums and stuff, about the 6-arc before it was officially released, and I think that probably helped things a little bit. And then I think initially, like I said, I think people are really excited about it.
Yeah. Well, Jaden, you've actually had a super top secret 6-arc, setup for a while now.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you've come to really enjoy or come to appreciate, or things that just really stand out to you about the 6-arc?
Oh man, the fact that you can accurately engage targets at distance, let's say 800 to 1,000, with an AR-15 that barely moves about like a 5.56 from a recoil standpoint, a little bit more, but closer to 5.56 than higher stuff. And does it with a barrel life that you don't have to worry, like a lot of the 6 mils, especially the hot rod 6s, you're going to be swapping barrels a lot more often. You don't have to worry about that with this. It's kind of it's just one system that does everything really well. It's not as efficient as the Hot Rod 6s, like a 6 Creed. You know, it's not going to give you those ballistics, but it's pretty close to it. And it's a well-rounded cartridge. I would say it does 80% of the job instead of 20% of the job, you know, and you see that when you lay down and shoot it. So yeah, like you said, the gun that I've got was one of the original barrels that was made during development for the DoD aspect of the project, which I know has been talked about. So yeah, I've had my hands in it for about 2 years shooting that setup, and it's awesome. I love it. I'm glad that we could bring it to market and that other people can get the chance at that as well.
Yeah, cool. I mean, maybe let's stick on that and let's break it down into a few specifics here. I mean, when you're saying the job, well, let's talk about the job. So, hey,
Sure.
if I'm a match shooter, I'm a PRS match shooter, you know, what are the strengths that would maybe lean me towards the 6 arc?
You get the heavy high BC 6mm bullets, right? You can shoot the heaviest ones that are available out of this cartridge. You have low recoil, which is huge because those competitive games, a lot of it's not laying on your belly, you know, perfectly supported, all that kind of stuff. You're cockeyed shooting through a cattle gate or whatever it is, you know. Recoil is a big deal on that. Being able to spot your own shots. Most of those competitions, you're not allowed to receive a correction from a spotter if you miss, so it's all up to you to figure it out. All those things don't seem like these, you know, magical performance characteristics, but small benefits in those areas make a huge overall benefit when all things are considered. And I think that's something that people should do when they look at this cartridge. They might look at one thing in particular. What bullet can it shoot? What's the recoil? What's the velocity? You know, those specific criteria, that's great, but look at it in total, and then you really see what the thing can do.
Well, now let's take that to, you know, the other job from a hunting aspect. You know, that's what I enjoy doing. You know, why would a person like me lean towards a 6 arc for a hunting aspect? I mean, we have the precision hunter load that will be available this fall, but, you know, for now we can even break that into hand loading VMAXs. You know, what's something, you know, why should a hunter lean towards a 6 arc? You know?
Well, we're in central Nebraska, right? So we don't have quite as far shots as some of the western hunters do, but I grew up on the eastern side of Nebraska, and for me to get a shot over 400 yards is a feat to do, right? So I think the 6 arc fits right in there. People have been shooting animals or medium-sized game with 6mm bullets for years, and they've been doing it well. And you can probably talk a little bit as far as bullet design goes, but there's something about a 6mm that really does a nice job. So intermediate ranges where I still have enough energy, and obviously the bullet's going to work at those ranges at those velocities, but I still have the energy on the animal to take it down ethically, and it's in a very lightweight package. That's what I like about it. I know I'm not going to shoot that deer at 1,000 yards. You know, it's just not going to happen. But 400 to 500, maybe 600 yards ethically can be done.
So you're talking lightweight package. Are you thinking in your mind AR-15, or are you thinking a mini action of some kind?
You could go either way with it. AR-15 is a light platform. I've had a 6.5 Grendel from Howa and a mini action, and the thought has certainly crossed my mind to put a new barrel on it. So that might be coming down the pipe as well.
Cool. I hope so. I mean, there's, certainly a lot of opportunities for different gun manufacturers out there to, you know, take this and kind of run. So that'll be kind of neat to see. You guys got any comments, or should we dive into actual, you know, viewer audience comments?
Well, people are making a lot of comparisons on the internet, and I hope that's part of your.
Yeah. Well, let's
what
start
we
with
got
that.
going.
Let's dive in. So maybe some of the most common, or the most common comment that has kept popping up is, you know, a lot of the Wildcats. 6AR has kind of been the most common one, but maybe let's just kind of touch on Wildcats in general. I don't know if Jaden, if you want to start on this, but yeah, basically the 6 arc compared to 6AR or Wildcats in general.
Well, before going into the 6 arc, I would say any cartridge that you see come out that's been standardized, so taken through the Sammi process of standardization here in the United States, there is most likely one, if not multiple, Wildcats that existed that are almost the exact same thing, or so close to it that it's arguable that they're the same thing, well before the thing is standardized. So one thing that you guys have said is there's a lot of people, oh, this is nothing different. It's just it's a 6 AR, it's a 6 Predator, it's a, 6. Take your pick of a Wildcat, right? And they're not wrong in that, but it's not the same because it's been standardized, and that process shouldn't be taken for granted. Because within the Wildcat world, a cartridge that exists there typically is not supported with components. That you may be able to find brass for it. Obviously, bullets, that's not really a consideration. Brass becomes an issue, and standardized ammunition is non-existent from a reputable supplier. You may have a guy in his garage that has a license and is cranking hand loads out on his own, but that's not a reputable mass, manufacturer. So just because it's similar to something doesn't mean it's the same. But understand, once something goes through the standardization process, that opens a whole new ballgame. Now you have gun manufacturers that are willing to get on board. Many won't adopt anything without Sammi standardization. And same thing with ammo guys. So is it similar to cartridges that have existed in the past? Yes, absolutely. And we've said that from the get-go. There's many Wildcats this is similar to, but it's not the same thing.
I have to agree 100%. The fact that a rifle manufacturer, why would they ever touch chambering a Wildcat in modern day? I know in years past there's been some instances of that, but the liability of, what's the chamber dimensions? What kind of reamer do you got? Who made the reamer? What specs did they make it to? And then you have to couple that. Those dimensions have to work with the dimensions that the ammo is, and if there's no way to standardize either of them, there's not a viable market for the long term on or the gun or the ammo side.
So even with that standardization, what's kind of the process? So if Hornady develops a new cartridge, what's the process to get that to different gun manufacturers? How do we get them on board? I mean, is it something Hornady can do directly, or is that kind of demand customer? If there's a bunch of guys out there that ask for this cartridge, is that just kind of something the gun manufacturers here and are going to pick up on, or I'm just curious what kind of that process is.
We do a lot of that ourselves, where we want to be so easy to work with. When we come out with something, we want it to be the easiest transition a gun maker has to do. So in a lot of cases, this for instance, we've bought reamer sets and go gauges, sample boxes of ammo loaded up, and we send them a little care package. This is what we're doing. We've got relationships all over the industry. This is what we're doing. This is the project. Here's a reamer set. Here's a set of go gauges. Here's some ammo. Build some guns, play it around. Let us know how it's working, what you think. We're going to take it to the Sammi meetings for voting, and we try to be, we'll take your hand and walk you exactly to the end point for a lot of cases.
Well, and it definitely can't hurt, probably, with some buzz out there. If it's in high demand, that's going to be a lot easier for any manufacturer to start getting behind it. All right, Jaden, so you're talking about the standardization process. What is that exactly?
Well, as a participating member of Sammi, which most of your reputable companies within the U.S. are the guys that are putting out large amounts of product, whether that's firearms or ammunition. Most of them are Sammi members. So if we're gonna bring a new cartridge out, right, the 6-ARC, we do all the research and development stuff. We kind of take the design from concept to finished product, and then once we've got that, we take all of those specifications, so dimensions, velocities, pressures, all that kind of stuff, and it gets introduced at Sammi. So when it's introduced, there's a packet that's essentially filled out. Those viewers that are familiar with the Sammi chamber drawing or whatever, you can go. And like you said earlier, it was released as a Sammi approved cartridge prior to our launch because the launch got pushed back with all the COVID stuff. So people are like, oh, look, check this thing out from Sammi. Wonder who's doing it. There was a lot of that going on the internet.
People were able to figure that out pretty fast.
Yeah, I figured. So once that packet is given to the Sammi members, call it, essentially it's like a peer review system. So everybody takes a look at it over a period of time, usually 6 months to a year. They'll review it. So it's usually 6 months. They'll have like a meeting where they review, stuff that was introduced. If there's problems or whatever that the peer review has identified, you have time to get that stuff fixed or whatever. And then If there's no major objections, from a safety standpoint or anything like that, then it'll be a Sammi approved cartridge, and then that's when you see it come out on the website. So, I mean, in a general speaking nutshell, that's what it takes.
Cool. All right, let's dive into another common question that came out here, and this may be a two-parter, but let's start with 243 Win. There was a lot of questions and concerns. That's a very commonly accepted cartridge, 243 Win. How does the 6 arc compare to that, and what are some of the differences?
I think Preston could attest to 243. I mean, that's got to be one of the top 3 deer cartridges for decades. I think from a sales volume standpoint, I mean, the calls you have to take on that.
Since the 60s, since it was introduced, I
yeah,
would say.
It's just insane how popular it is, and for good reason, obviously. I think one of the bigger things that I find as an appreciable difference, and we can all probably have different ideas, is the twist rate. Standard Sammi twist rate on a 243 is 1 in 10, so you're going to top out with, we had to design an ELDX bullet specifically to stabilize in a 10 twist because our 1 in 3 or 103 that we use in the 6 Creedmoor is simply too long. So I think the twist rate that limits your bullet length and as a corollary the weight, I think that's one of the limiting factors that I see, and what separates it, that the arc will be able to and was designed to handle those heavier, longer, more efficient bullets.
Yeah, and stating the obvious, a 243 does not fit into an AR-15, right? Surprising, I know. But a 243 is an AR-10 sized cartridge, and a 6mm arc is an AR-15 cartridge. Now, from some of the comments I've seen, that doesn't deserve to make a new cartridge. Well, guess what? We think it does.
Sure.
So it's really up to us and the amount of demand and how much we're going to be able to sell of it. And we really think that this has a place in the market. Yes, a 243 is out there. Yes, a 6 Creedmoor is out there. Yes, they all shoot 6mm bullets, but they all do something different.
So
and there's room for that.
Is that maybe a better comparison then? Or if you're looking at a different cartridge that is a good alternative but similar to a 243 Winchester, is 6 Creedmoor maybe the better one to discuss?
Yeah, and I mean, it's
more of a direct comparison.
Yeah,
if you look at
right.
performance-wise, of the bullets that a 243 is applicable of shooting, if you put those in a 6 Creed, it's very similar. The 6 Creed will beat it a touch. That's a little bit more efficient, but they're about the same ballpark. But they're both a short-action cartridge, high velocity. The thing that both of them suffer from is barrel life. So if you're going to use it for high-volume shooting, which long-range, high-volume shooting is like the name of the game today, right? Like that's what most people are getting into if they're not already. Barrel life's a big consideration. So if you're going to use a 243 for that, you're going to have to get it rebarreled for the twist rate that Seth talked about, and then you're going to be swapping barrels every 1,000 to 1,500 rounds because you're going to burn it out. From a hunting perspective, where the 243 lives and where it came from, that was the originating principle of a 243 was a hunting cartridge. The 6 arc will essentially do the same thing, have the same capabilities that the 243 will from a performance standpoint. From a range standpoint, the fact that the 243 is limited on bullet weight, so you can shoot 100 grain spire points, about as heavy as you're going to go. That projectile doesn't have the aerodynamic efficiency that a 103 ELDX does. So even though you may have a velocity advantage out of the 243, that old school technology prevents you from using bullets that could extend the range of that thing. So the fact that the 6 arc can, although the velocities are lower, the projectiles it can use are more efficient, it bridges that gap.
And you're doing it with less recoil, with significantly less powder.
Absolutely. Yeah, like recoil sensitive people, new shooters, women, kids, new shooters, the 6 arc is a major advantage over the 243 from a recoil standpoint.
And likely the people that are saying a 243 Winchester already exists, why did you do this, aren't going to be shooting at extended long ranges either.
They're shooting their 243 for in the capacity it was meant to be used.
Exactly.
And it does great. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it, but it won't do the other half of the job.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this then, a 243 WSSM.
Never heard of her.
Well, so
there's a laundry list we need to
couple
talk
main
about
problems
here.
there. Back to the twist rate thing again. Sammi spec twist rate is a 10 twist. So as ammo guys, when we make ammo, it has to work in the firearm. The firearm guys make it to Sammi spec, 10 twist. You can't run the long, heavy bullets again. Same situation as a 243. Barrel life, same and possibly worse. It's not there. It's probably great for a hot rod varmint cartridge if you're wanting to shoot VMAX is screaming fast, and it's going to do that better than the 6-arc will if all you care about is velocity. But if barrel life, recoil, projectile availability is any part of what you're considering,
Lack availability.
Lack of necessity to neck turn.
Yeah.
fine components, it's just, and it's not that well supported, There's not very many companies out there that manufacture components for the WSSM series.
All right, let's dive into one more here. So this was probably top of the list for common question that popped up. I know we did some different videos and things that compared the 6-arc to the 6.5 Grendel, but let's actually talk about some of those the details that are actually different between those two cartridges.
Well, as Preston said, the most obvious is probably the bullet.
264 diameter bullet on a 6.5 Grendel, 243 on a 6-arc. There's slight differences in the case.
Yeah, a little bit.
30 thousandths.
About, yeah.
About.
We bumped the shoulder back about 30, so it's not a straight neck down. We did that for performance reasons, to get the bullet back out of the case. You've probably seen that as a trend from us.
Contrary to people think that we did it just so that we didn't exactly copy ARs, there's a reason for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think all about performance.
Another stark difference, but not specifically answering the question, is the Grendel has the same 2.250 magazine restriction as the ARC. And when you get into 6.5 millimeter bullets, the Grendel can only handle moderate weight bullets. We offer 120 and a 123. And you get much heavier and longer than that, that's not going to fit in your magazine because you're going to run out of bearing surface to seat it into the case, and you chew up powder capacity. So by going down to 6 millimeter, we were able to get really efficiently designed bullets that are just shorter, and so you don't have to chew up your powder capacity. You can put most of the bullet in the neck and still not fit in your 2.250 magazine restriction.
Very well said.
So what does this mean for all the 6.5 Grendel guys that are out there? If I have a 6.5 Grendel, is this...
Shoot it, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
make
not,
it rain.
It's not like just because something comes out that it makes everything else useless now. 6.5 Grendel's a great cartridge. Shoot it up, But understand where the 6.5 Grendel comes from. That's a decade-old cartridge. Was there a 6 millimeter 108 10 years ago? Was there a 110 A-tip 10 years ago? No, right? Like, you've seen this evolution in projectiles over the past decade that now the 6-arc can take advantage of those. I mean, if that would have been present back a decade ago, it's likely that the 6.5 Grendel would have been a 6-arc back then. But you didn't have that availability then. So it's different. The arc is more efficient. The Grendel's going to hit with a little bit more energy at closer ranges because of the heavier bullets. At more extended ranges, the arc's going to overtake it because of the efficiency of the bullets. But shoot them. I had a Grendel until the arc came out. But
Before the ARC came out.
yeah.
And it's not like our 6.5 Grendel ammunition is going to just automatically stop being produced.
No.
Right.
Right. There's still going to be 6.5 Grendel support. If you want to burn up your barrel on your 6.5 Grendel and switch to an ARC, go for it.
That's what I was going to touch on. For the guy that does have the Grendel, it's as simple as a barrel. And if you have got a 223, then it's a bolt and a barrel. It's a pretty easy conversion. Nothing magical there.
Just to hit on that again, so if I've got a 6.5 Grendel, magazine's the same, bolt face is the same, and then if I've got a 5.56 223, just swap the bolt face, mag, 6-arc barrel.
Done.
Ready to go.
And it's been clarified in the comments, but I think we should probably clarify it on this as well. It is a Type 2 Grendel bolt face. There are 2 types of Grendel bolts out there, and this is the Type 2.
Maybe let's hit on 2, because this was a comment that I saw pop up. What do you guys know about the 6.5 Grendel mags as far as any feeding issues? You guys have any experience with that? And would the 6-arc potentially be the same? Or I guess another way to look at that, do you think there's anybody that could develop a 6-arc specific magazine?
There's a ton of, I would call them talking points about the weak point of the system is the magazine, whether you're talking a Grendel or an ARC. But it doesn't seem to be a systemic problem from the standpoint that all magazines have issues. And if you deal with magazines, if you're an AR shooter and you deal with magazines, then you have an understanding that there's bad mags and good mags. And same manufacturer, right? You drop a mag, stuff like that. It can all change how a magazine works, right? Feed lips, all that kind of stuff. Long story short, is there talking points about it? Yes. Have we experienced it? No. I mean, the 6.5 Grendel, if there was a systemic feeding problem with the 6.5 Grendel, which has been around a decade prior to the ARC, then it would not have gained any popularity. Why would you shoot a cartridge that has a feeding problem like that? I think you have isolated incidents, and I think those isolated incidents become the squeaky wheel, and the squeaky wheel gets the attention, and so then there's the assumption that everything is that way when it's not the case. I think in all of the ARC development over the past 2 years, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds downrange, there was one magazine that had an issue, and it was tied to that magazine because it followed the problem followed that magazine across multiple guns, and the magazines from those other guns, when put into the problem gun from the origin, didn't have any issues. It was that magazine. You're going to have that. But it's like that with anything. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
You know, honestly, I bought the cheapest magazines I could find, and I'm not even going to name names or whoever I bought it from. I bought the cheapest magazines I could find when I originally did this cartridge, a 5-rounder and a 10-rounder, and I've had no issues at all. I see some of the guys talk about the larger capacity mags, maybe some swelling, but I've not experienced that myself with any other borrowed magazines.
One valid point would be the availability of mags, right? You compare it to 5.56. There's less people that make a Grendel mag than there is that makes a 5.56 mag. I hope that this is similar to what the 6.5 PRC did. When we did the 6.5 PRC, we stepped outside of the box, magazine box literally, when it came to length, right? So we went 2.950 with the 6.5 PRC. That wouldn't fit on those. There was, I think, 1 or 2 mags at the time that we released that cartridge that you could use for it. But what you've seen is the performance benefits of the cartridge make it worth it for the magazine guys to develop new magazines for that cartridge because the people want the cartridge for the performance that it has. I think you'll see the same thing with this.
I think this is one of the better cartridge releases we've ever done where we've got industry support, I would say. And the AR crowd is large. It's a big crowd. I would be surprised if you didn't see somebody else step up to the plate, but time will tell.
Well, while we're on this mag discussion, maybe we should hit on capacity as far as it goes, magazine capacity for 6-ARC.
In an AR?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, kind of standard footprint of a 30-round AR mag. You're going to have 25-round or 24-round magazines, depending on who has them, the way they classify those. And then, like Preston said, you can get 15s, 10s, 5s. Everything under that is available. So you're with that increased diameter of the cartridge of the 6-ARC compared to a 5.56, you're sacrificing some capacity. But back to the original point of the cartridge is that it will meet or exceed 308 performance, and you're winning there because a 308 is going to have a 20-round capacity, if that, with a larger form factor of the magazine.
And I think it's only a matter of time till we see 100-round drum mags.
We can only
maybe
hope.
92 rounds.
Yeah,
whatever
92.
it is.
Yeah.
All right. So how about barrel length? What is optimum barrel length?
What's the job you want to do?
That's what I asked on the YouTubes. I made a comment to a guy that was saying that this video that you had put out is useless.
Oh man, I'm
without
sorry,
the barrel length. And I said that is up to every user. What do you want this cartridge to do for you? Is this a truck gun? Is this super lightweight truck gun? Is this a long range lay on your belly shoot kind of gun? It depends on what you want it to do. But we're getting 2750 out of a 24-inch barrel, and people always say, well, that's a release velocity. It'll never meet that. It does.
Yeah, well.
And it's been backed by all these industry folks as well. 18-inch, what are we saying?
You're going to get 26, 25 for the average. And we kind of, the gas gun, the AR side of it, was designed around an 18-inch. That's what was the perfect blend of length, so ergonomics, how you can handle the firearm, weight, the weight savings of it, but then maintaining that performance as a function of range. That was the perfect blend. So if a guy wants one gun that he can do everything with, go with the 18. If you don't like 18 inches because it's too long and you want to go 16, go 16. We've done a barrel length study from 28 inches down to 12. We've shot all those lengths. And the only negative performance impact is increased muzzle flash as you go to a shorter barrel, and it's that case with any cartridge that you do that with. So
Yeah, sometimes when you do that, you see velocity deviation start to happen, don't you? But that wasn't the case with this.
No, the velocity extreme spread or standard deviation did not climb as a function of shorter barrel. Dispersion, group size, did not get worse as a function of shortening the barrel. Drag variability didn't suffer. The only thing that suffered was muzzle flash.
Gonna have to expect that.
Yeah.
With the shorter barrel.
To touch on what Jaden said a little bit, it's kind of tangential to what we're talking about, but he mentioned 26-25 out of an 18-inch barrel, and that's not the fastest trip down the drag strip. But he'd said also previous that we were trying to meet or exceed 308 performance. So if you look at a 308 Winchester with a 175 or 178 grain bullet out of an 18-inch barrel, it's not going 26-25 either. So just to put that more into a specific
and the ballistic
application.
coefficients of the bullets, the 6mm is going to most likely exceed the 178 grain bullet or 175.
Yeah. So just wanted to call out that velocity right there, that although that is not screaming fast on paper, and it's not, the efficiency of the bullet, and then direct comparison to 308, because we mentioned that was kind of our guiding light. We have to make it beat this. A 178's going 26-25 from a 24-inch barrel. So big difference there.
Good. Well, I think I want to wrap this up with this final question here. So if I'm a guy, I'm looking for a 6mm. I'm just pulling up our Hornady catalog right here. We've got 243, 6mm rim, and the 6 Creedmoor. Now we'll have the 6 arc. Whether obvious or not, why would I choose 6 arc out of that list?
To put it bluntly, and you might have to cut this, you might not.
Well, that's good.
I mean, let's be honest. They all do something different. Yes, this 243 Winchester 6 Rem and the 6 Creedmoor are very similar. They're all short-action cartridges. Obviously, some have a little bit of lackluster twist rates for the bullets that are being produced now that the 6 Creedmoor doesn't, but they all can do the job unless you're going to go to extended ranges. And I mean out there. A 243 Win, somebody that's shooting 100 grain spire point with a 400 G1 BC can still do pretty good out to 500 or 600 yards. Maybe even further than that. Maybe not deliver enough energy, but they all have their place.
I'd agree with you.
I mean, we're not putting out cartridges to take out cartridges.
Right.
Sure.
That's not the point of Hornady.
If you were trying to make a sell for the arc and you got all these other options, I think one combination of things would be that the 6 arc can be a good varmint cartridge like the 243 or the 6 Rim if you want to hand load some 58 VMAXs and scream them out of there. And likewise, it can do 103 grain ELDXs for hunting antelope or something, just like a 6 Creedmoor. And it's not going to be as fast, but it can still shoot the same weight of bullets. And so it's doing all of that in the smaller platform. So maybe I want a 243 and a 6 Creed and a 6 arc. Well, that's cool. Do that too. But if you just want to get one because you can only afford one, or you only, just for simplicity, you only want one, that one, the 6 arc, will do pretty much everything that all those others can. And it can do it in a lot smaller platform.
Cool. I mean, good answers. That's kind of exactly why I wanted to bring that question up. And Preston, I liked yours. I mean, depending on what you want and what you want to do, it may not be the 6 arc.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if you're like strictly a bolt gun guy, right? I don't touch those gas guns, then you can go with one of the other ones. But if you're a guy, I know I'm a gas gun guy and I'm a bolt gun guy. And now I have one cartridge that I can share between both of those different platforms, which they do different jobs. I can run a 26-inch bolt gun for precision rifle type competitions, and then I can have my gas gun for varmint hunting, coyote hunting, and shooting at long range at the same time with that same cartridge. You get both of that. You can't do that with any of the other 6mm that you listed in the catalog.
Well, cool. Is there anything else, guys, before we start to close this off here? Something that we missed that we should say?
I appreciate the interest in the cartridge. I mean,
yeah,
like you said, we're, week and a half or 2 weeks from the launch, and it's taken off. It's really cool to see. So
Yeah.
thanks everybody for looking at it.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Yeah,
I'm excited too. Now I just got to figure out if I want to go gas gun or a mini action.
Both.
One of each.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're exactly right.
You were here. You get both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to say load data is on the way shortly. For those that are interested, keep an eye out for that on the app or on the website. I think it'll probably go to the app.
I think it's going website too. I
Think
think
so?
Yeah.
Well,
I think so.
either
But
way.
definitely to the app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. And if you guys have any other questions or comments or anything that, we may have missed over, comment below. Let us know. We're all working to answer the YouTube questions as well as on Facebook. But if there's something you'd want us to dive into and a little more in-depth in a long-form discussion like this, let us know. I mean, we all enjoy getting together and doing this. So just let us know, and we'll try and touch on as much as we can.